Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just a few minutes late for the 12 at 12, and I was just finishing another class that I have to tell you was really inspiring to me. We were talking about diversity, specifically because while this is being recorded, it's the middle of what most people think of as Pride Week, or the week that precedes the Pride festivals and parades around the United States anyway. And so we were discussing, what is at the heart of diversity? We know from a spiritual perspective that diversity is essential to life. We are all interconnected. And from the biological to the psychological, we need diversity to be whole. That means we need every skin color. We need every gender orientation. We need every story of life to complete the human experience and the understanding of what it means to be human. On the other hand, it is easier said than done. And I think that we often end up feeling that diversity then becomes not only a kind of rally cry, but a kind of philosophy, a kind of destination, something that is almost an ideology outside of ourselves, when in fact, diversity is the essence of the human experience. And what I mean by that is to become authentic, to truly experience, explore, and share who you are and who only you can be is essential to your health, your well-being, your resilience, and it's also essential to the diversity of the world. So what we're talking about then is the realization that authenticity and diversity are entwined, and that wherever we are seeking to promote or foster diversity in the world, we are essentially talking about fostering authenticity, to empower other people to speak their truth as they experience it. Now, many of you have seen this before. I use this model, the three channels of self: the conditional, the essential, the universal. The conditional being that kind of externally formed version of who we are, the mask that we show the world. The essential is that true self, your soul, your true nature. And then we have the universal, and that is the part of you where your individuality blurs or merges into the union or the unity of all things. And what's interesting about that, in light of the topic of diversity and authenticity, is that there's kind of a movement that happens between each of these levels, a kind of ebb and flow, or expansion and contraction. And so what that looks like is that once we form our conditional self, we contract. We become quite committed to the idea that whatever we've decided is the best way to be for ourselves is actually the best way to be for everyone. And of course, not only is that not authentic, but it condemns and diminishes the authenticity of others, and it condemns and diminishes diversity in our world. And we have to be careful that not only do we seek to enrich our conditional self with the truth of the essential self, but we must be careful that diversity and authenticity don't become exploited by the conditional self, that we start to kind of co-opt the language of inclusivity, co-opt the idea of universality and inclusivity as something that we are proud of, something that we are showing off, something that we want to be known for, as opposed to something that we invest in either as a legacy of impact or as a pure, truthful expression of the self. So we watch for the conditional self as we create it as young people. we come to hold on to it, we come to be contracted and fixed on it, and then as we grow through life, if we keep our eyes open and our hearts open, we realize that we can open that up and expand it. We can be more than we thought. And then as we do that, we come to recognize that we have to embrace not only the uniqueness of our own essential self, but we come to realize that that is what others are calling for in life as well. That things may look like social movements, whether that's gay pride or Black Lives Matter, but it's more than that. It's more than a surface story. It's human souls calling out for safety and protection to be fully who they are, who only they can be. And that is where we can lean into or become more rooted in our own essential self, find confidence in the uniqueness of who and what we are, and then extend that to others through our conditional choices. And what does that look like? Well, that looks like accepting people for who they are. That looks like listening. Looks like listening. Sounds funny. That looks like being committed to listening with love and acceptance so that whatever a person's story is or whatever they're grappling with to show or share with the world, you provide a container or even just a momentary interaction that lets them know they are lovable and acceptable as they are. We also come to recognize that voice is significant as we seek to empower authenticity for others from the essence of the self, right? Bolstered and strengthened by our core identity in the universal self. But we not only have to learn to listen, but to do so with acceptance, loving acceptance, and then to invite voice, to invite participation, to not only make it okay for someone to be who they are, but to look for it, to instigate it, to ask them to come forward and make it known that their uniqueness is celebrated. We also realize that it is important to help people to find environments where that which they want to express is not only accepted, but is affirmed. And there's a little nuance there. Acceptance might be something like visiting a community, a spiritual community, let's say, where you don't necessarily believe what they believe or do what they do, but from the moment you come in, you feel welcome. No one asks you to be different. They don't ask you to be what they're like. It's neutral. Take a seat, check it out. On the other hand, affirming would be something like visiting a community, and not only are you welcome to check out who they are without imposition, but they want to know who you are. And you might even find that who you feel you are or what you feel you're facing is resonant around you. When we seek to become authentic and foster diversity where there is a lack of authenticity and diversity, we can't undermine the fact that people making that journey also really need or benefit from being surrounded by a common experience, but not to go unchallenged. And so we have a couple more elements to mention. Containment and facilitation is also critical to the journey of authenticity. Most of us who feel some depth of authenticity of our life have had specific people and specific groups that not only accepted us as we were, not only affirmed that it was okay to be who we were and that maybe there was commonality, but then there was more. There was process, structure, challenge to be more than what we have become, to even ask ourselves if authenticity is only giving voice to our unspoken inner experience that's been hidden, but perhaps even something deeper, a quality of soul and self that has been longing for expression from the very beginning. So, as we come to a close, and it's a lot of ideas and information in a short time, it's really about recognizing that if we want to see diversity in the world, then we must create a world where authenticity is safe and celebrated. But the same is true for ourselves. If we want to feel the fullness of our own lives, then we must find those ways, those places, those people, those groups, those programs and practices where we find the conditions in which authenticity thrives. That includes finding places where we can experience unconditional acceptance and loving acceptance, finding environments where we can sit with those who have similar experiences and be guided by them, affirmation, recognizing that we need both the freedom to be uniquely ourselves and containment to challenge and explore that to move forward. And also that there is a great value in time and presence. To see that the journey of maturation and authenticity is not just a weekend workshop, but we really need to commit to the things that we've been talking about here today over time, to saturate ourselves in them, to surround ourselves with them, and to let those energies and experiences of authenticity become the foundation of our reality and not the exception. So, I hope this was helpful for you. This is Dr. Jonathan. If you want to learn more about who I am and what I'm doing, you can go to jonathanellerby.com. If you like this video, please pass it on. At the very least, you can like it and follow me and whatever you're supposed to say about social media. Do all that stuff, and I'll see you later. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.